Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Donna Just Being Real. My channel is all about dating, love, relationships, and toxic relationship advice channel. And we're getting back into this Alexee. Yup, this psycho chick. So we back with this one again. All right, so there's a bit of an update. And the update is, let me read real quick here. All right, they call it the Trash Can Baby Murder Trial. Versus Alexee Trevizo, something like that. Motion hearing. Well, she had a motion hearing today, and this was earlier today. So I'm gonna basically play it. I didn't get a chance to watch it, so I'm watching it with y'all. All right, and what you do is you make sure you hit the like button, share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section, and also share it on your social media. And I have a couple other videos that I've did on this psycho chick right here. You see here the picture of her and her boyfriend all smiling at the prom after what she did. This is insane. All right, so let me read a little bit of description. Just give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. All right, 19-year-old Alexee allegedly gave birth in a hospital bathroom and dumped her newborn in the trash in January. Alexee claimed that the baby was already dead, and her attorney is blaming the general hospital staff for claiming a nurse killed the baby by administering a cocktail of drugs. The New Mexico teen is charged with first-degree murder or alternately abusing a child, resulting in death, and tampering with evidence. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna watch this. Let's just watch it. You share your thoughts and opinions, and also if you need to reach out to me, feel free to look in the description. You will find my email address. Right? And if you have any viewers requests, or if you need coaching in dating, love, relationship, toxic relationship, feel free to contact me. Or if you need to speak to me about something on the side, feel free to contact me. You find my email address. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. It's mute on their end. Let's see who just came up in here. And we got 603 in the house, 603 in the house, and BG in the house too. Hugs and kisses. Never a dull moment. It never is, right? Never is. Just isn't. And do I see Deb creep through here too? And we got Deb up in here. Where is Deb? And how are you, Deb? Hello, chat. Happy to be here for a live. Alrighty. And we got Melody in here. I was thinking about you too, girl. So I'll have my bone broth soup today. Hello and greetings to Donna. Alright, 603. Did it start yet? No, it didn't start. Okay. Kind of silent here. Because it hasn't started yet. And do I see Nell GG in the house? And congratulations again. Congratulations, girl. Our girl over here got a 3.9. Shout out to Nell GG. Watching from the flower bed. Yeah, I prefer that better than the bushes. Oh, maybe I should pick up the speed on here. Let me pick up the speed so they can start talking. Let me pick up the speed. You know, people watching replay be like, when is it going to start? Gosh. All right, look like we're getting somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting somewhere.
Okay, good afternoon. I see Mr. Mitchell. Got a lot of people. There's Miss Lou. She's also signing in. Is that your client in the background, Mr. Mitchell?
It is.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Just want to be sure we got our necessary parties here. Let me call our case number. This is, excuse me, CR 2023-159, State versus Alexee Trevizo. Diana Luce is the district attorney. She's appearing for the state. Mr. Gary Mitchell appears as counsel for the defendant, and she is also appearing in person. virtually in person. So, council, we've got several matters to go through this afternoon, several motions. I wonder, do you have a preference as to the order? I was proposing we deal with the venue change as the first order, but if you have something else you'd rather take in any other order, I'm fine with that.
No, Your Honor, I can do with the venue. It'll be pretty quick.
Okay, all right, okay. So it's your motion, Mr. Mitchell. I'll let you tell me what I need to know, and I'll hear from Ms. Luce. And I do have your pleadings here, of course.
Sure, and I'm not going to repeat those. Your Honor, classically, we'd have a hearing over whether or not Eddy County is free from exception, and I'd file affidavits and do all that. But the new basis for doing these change of venue motions virtually has turned into something that was suggested several decades ago by judges like Allen and some of those judges. Whenever we would, they suggested that rather than do change of venue motions, that we send out and ask the courts for questionnaires, and we send out questionnaires that we ask people to fill out under oath, and then the council reviews those questionnaires to see if by perchance we can get a jury, which seems to be much cheaper and frankly a better way to do it. Ms. Luce kindly sent me the latest questionnaire that they used in a similar case out of Hobbs or out of Lovington. I got that. She and I can make some modifications to that. The trial date you sent earlier today is acceptable to me. I think it's acceptable to Ms. Luce, and we can figure out with you and the court clerk when we should send those questionnaires out via Google, however we're going to do them. That's up to the clerk, but I'll get with Ms. Luce. We can work up that jury questionnaire, get it sent out once we get the new panels that would be sitting for that trial. And then when we get the information, we can figure out when counsel can sit down and go through that with the court, move to strike certain jurors who, by the answers on the jury questionnaires, have given us sufficient information for which they could not sit fairly and impartially, and decide if we have enough jurors to select from, and then go from there. I would propose that to the court as a way to resolve this issue rather than have a lengthy hearing today over whether or not this case has nationwide publicity, countywide publicity, statewide publicity, or world publicity. It has all of them, frankly. So trying to move to another jurisdiction in New Mexico may not be very suitable, since the whole state has some of the same media sources, and particularly social media has been so explicit in this particular instance. That's the solution I propose.
All right. And are you on board with that, Ms. Luce? I mean, it sounds rational. We all know there's no place to go that somebody hasn't heard about the case, which is that's not the standard for qualifying or disqualifying, but nevertheless, there's no place we can go that would be any different, my opinion, than Eddy County. And I think that's what I'm hearing from Mr. Mitchell. Are you on board at least with the concepts?
Yes, Your Honor. That's why I provided the supplemental questionnaire we used in the case that we tried in Lovington, so that he could see the questions we did. Obviously, he and I can confer. If we can't agree, then on it, we can have a hearing before the court. But I think if we can agree, then we can just submit it for the court's approval. The court can submit it to the clerk's office, and then they'll digitally upload it as they did in Lovington, and then they'll send it out paper for jurors that need that. But I think that resolves that motion for today.
Okay. And folks, let me it's above my pay grade. I don't know how Martha does her work down in the clerk's office, but my suggestion is that we get with her early enough, and this trial's not going anytime soon, so we should have adequate time to let her know we're going to have to get an unusually large number of jurors pulled in to examine a panel. I mean, just the length of the trial alone is going to make it difficult to get an adequate veneer to pick from. So at least we've got some ramp up time, and then I'll let Martha know, kind of be warned, we're going to have a really, really large number of prospective jurors to sort out, I think, in this case, just to get enough people to sit on a panel. And I think you told me you expected 6 weeks to try this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I estimated. But a lot of that goes to jury selection. But if we do, and I found, I don't know if Ms. Luce has found this to be the solution as well. I found if we do a decent supplemental jury questionnaire, that cuts down on the amount of time we need for voir dire. So we may be able to get it done within 4 weeks if we're not having to do.
So you're counting the 6 weeks, a good part of that you're counting also pulling the jury, right?
I am.
Okay. So the actual trial portion won't be 6 weeks. You were counting for finding a jury to sit.
Right. I counted 2 weeks for jury selection.
Okay. All right. Well, we will keep that in mind, and I will just try to start anticipating and plan ahead as much as possible on getting that taken care of. Okay. All right. So that issue's off the table. I've got 2 other pending motions. I have the one to modify conditions of release. Then I have the other, which is the motion to suppress, motion for protective order, exercise of privilege, and the Pena Espinosa procedure determination. Which one do you want to handle next? You're muted, Mr. Mitchell.
Let's do the privilege one next. It's
Okay.
all of them, because I think I can argue the whole thing, and we'll save the release provisions to last.
Okay.
There's also a motion that I filed. The state didn't respond, but to take the deposition of one of these, I'll think here just a second. The toxicology experts that's in Pennsylvania. The state sent some of their lab testing to Pennsylvania, and I didn't want to be without that expert for whatever reason. But that's something we can do later. But we probably need to take the deposition for purposes of trial of that particular witness. So we're not either one of us hung out to dry when we need that toxicologist, and we don't have them available because they're more than 300 miles away.
So this is a toxicologist for the state, and you need the deposition of this toxicologist. Am I right on understanding that?
Right. At the preliminary hearing in this matter, the state objected to my just getting into that with the forensic pathologist or any other doctor, saying we needed to have the toxicologist here. I want to avoid that. I've dealt with that issue with the same toxicology group before, where we tried to bring them from Pennsylvania or the state.
I had to pause. Just look how she just sits there, motionless. Just no emotions. No emotions, no empathy, no nothing. But she sure did show some emotions with the baby daddy at the prom, right? Look at her, grinning, ear to ear. Look at dad, grinning, ear to ear. Resume.
Tried to bring them from Pennsylvania, and normally somebody calls me and say, Gary, can we take their statement or their deposition? And that's all I'm saying. We just need to take the position.
Okay, but that's not right for today. We're going to have to put that up for another hearing, right?
That's right, Judge. I'll talk to Diane about it, to the district attorney about it, see if we can reach an accommodation, if we can take that witness's deposition and introduce the report. The report's what I need or the state may need, whichever one of us needs it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready to argue on this motion to exercise of privilege. Let me say, and there was some confusion yesterday, but we didn't send these exhibits, but to the court via your email and to the district attorney via her email. So these are exhibits I still think need to be sealed for purposes, but I sent exhibits A through I just for the purposes of this hearing. They're not to be admitted at trial or anything. I'm not asking that. Just for purposes of the hearing. They included the records of the hospital, which I think are privileged, and for the court's edification, the 2 lab reports that we needed. And then we had certain police reports, and I noticed and looking here, both officers are present. I guess we could take their testimony if we need to, but I attached their reports, Williams and Anaya. And then there's a videotape that the state doesn't have that I'm aware of, nor do I have, but I've seen on people send it on social media. It's from Artesia General Hospital, and it's a videotape of my client going from a examining room down the hall to the bathroom and then coming back. Another Artesia police officer took that tape, figured out a time schedule. That's Exhibit G, a timeline. I believe that was Officer Minter, and I attached his report showing the timeline. And then there's the videotape that we seek to suppress, where police officers, the doctor, and my client are and her mother are in the examining room. That's the Miranda issues. And then I did a timeline of events to give the court, without you having to examine every medical record, to give you a timeline of what we're talking about here. So I'm asking that those be admitted for purposes of this hearing and that they be sealed.
All right. You have any objection, Ms. Luce?
Your Honor, I don't have objection to the video, to the police reports, to the lab reports for purposes of this hearing. The timeline that has a caption on it appears to be Mr. Mitchell's work product summary of what everything purports to be and purports to happen. If that's a proffer by him of what evidence is, and the court is to consider it only as a proffer, the state doesn't have an objection. Otherwise, that's basically argument. And the state's going to object to that being a written document, with us only getting it last night, coming in before the court.
Okay, I saw a thumbs up, from Mr. Mitchell, right?
Judge, and I knew that, and I expected to just use it as a proffer of what the records show. Ms. Luce didn't say anything about Exhibit A, which are the medical records that came from Artesia. I copied those straight from what the state gave to me. So I don't know if the state has an objection to those. You're going to have to look at them some point in time to decide what is going to be admissible and not admissible under the privilege.
Now, counsel, I don't have any of these actual exhibits you're referencing. Where are they? Have you tendered them?
We sent them to your TCA via email yesterday, and she should have them.
You did? Okay, she said she sent them to my email. Let me check. I'm sorry, I missed them on my email if she did. Hang on a minute. Let me look.
It's a lot. It took several emails. I think we put them on
I'm not sure. I've got one that does not appear. It's a reference. Here's the link for Exhibit F. That's not it, right?
Well, there's an Exhibit F, but we put them on a link for purposes of the court. I didn't anticipate that you'd be able to go through them all. I figured you might take some under advisement after you heard from counsel today.
I will do. And Emily, will you do this? Print them up for me. Just print them in. We'll put them in a folder also, because it just helps me to have them in hard form. She'll get them up and I'll look at them later. Will that work for you folks as far as this goes?
It will, Judge, because
Okay.
the argument is going to be, anyway.
Okay.
I do need to know if the state objects to Exhibit A, which were their medical records.
Your Honor, not for purposes of this hearing, for the court to consider them. Of any objection to any of these, as I've let defense counsel know, being sealed, not public for purposes of the record for various reasons. And so I don't have a problem with that, Your Honor, but I just wanted to make sure that the one that is, I believe, the timeline of events was the proffer to the court. Since it had a caption on it, appeared to be prepared by Mr. Mitchell or along with his staff.
It was prepared by me, Judge, and a proffer is all it is. And
Okay.
that's really put the style of the case on it. So
Okay. Okay.
all right.
So,
I'm ready.
all right. With that said, let me hear your argument, Mr.
Sure, Judge, and I'll be as succinct as possible. And when the court reviews the argument that Ms. Luce made regarding HIPAA and the argument I made, we both agree under the law, there's not a remedy under HIPAA for one exercising the privilege. There are fines that a hospital and doctors pay for violation of HIPAA, but that has to do with the Department of Justice and their investigation and Medicare and Medicaid and whatever they decide to do. But for the individual, there's no remedy under federal law, under HIPAA, that you could exercise. You can't sue for damages or anything like that. So my purpose in bringing this today, however, is under New Mexico law, and I cited the court to this. Rule 11504 is a physician-patient privilege in the state of New Mexico that we believe applies. And I, in my brief, cited the court to Bertrand and Roper, which are the two key cases for the exercise of that privilege. Our position is we have not waived this privilege in any way. We did not sign a waiver. It applies to the doctor. It applies to all hospital personnel. It applies to Artesia General Hospital. And later on, it applies to the hospital in Roswell where she was taken. So and that's one reason I attached a timeline so the court could know. This entire case hinges around what happens in a bathroom and the emergency room of Artesia General Hospital on the date in question, which was January 27th of 2023. The timeline will tell you that there's one admission sheet that says 12:03, but by 12:05, she's in the emergency room. And then within a few minutes, she receives medication and through an IV, and including morphine and several other different kinds of medication. It's a timeline would reflect. Without getting into that too much, she's examined by an emergency room doctor. She has a nurse that's there. People come in. The hospital asks for a UA. And blood. They do a blood test, and by 12:51, they know that she's pregnant. And then we know, when it comes to this privilege, that according to and they happen to have a video camera or some type of camera in the emergency room part of Artesia General Hospital that shows her leaving her room. And we know from the records that at 1:39, she leaves they go in, they unhook her from the IV, let her get up. She virtually runs down the hall, trots down the hall to the bathroom. And then, according to the police report that you have from Officer Minter of the Artesia Police Department, who reviews that video and goes through it, she's in the bathroom for approximately 18 minutes and then leaves the bathroom and goes back to her room, and then by a certain time period, and let me pull that up so I can speak intelligently to the court. We know that after the 18 minutes in the bathroom, we know she's back in the room, and we know that emergency room personnel go in and they begin, the cleaning staff goes in and they begin to clean the bathroom. And later and that begins at 2:08, and then by 2:27 they find the baby, and at 2:38 the doctor pronounces death, and then police arrive after that. So when the police arrive, the doctor wants to wait for the police to get there. I don't think this is disputed at all. She waits to talk to the two officers from Artesia Police Department, both of whom I've attached their reports, the sergeant and the officer that came in. and I've attached those as exhibits. So they come in, they talk to the doctor, and then they go in the room where she is. And the doctor walks up to her and asks her and tells her they found the baby and asks her, says something to her. You have the videotape of that. It's a lengthy videotape for you to examine of that time period with the officers there. The officers both say in their report that they told her she was detained, could not leave, and for purposes of Miranda, I would argue in custody and not free to leave, which means that at no time is there anything read about Miranda, which gets us to the suppression issue. But back to the privilege, the key question is to determine, when does this privilege apply? Well, it applied from the first time she went to the hospital. That's real clear under the rule and under the case law, and it applies to everybody there. And really the state's case is the time in the bathroom. And then it applies afterwards as well. So my position to the court is everything that takes place between the time she goes to the hospital all the way through is privileged information that the doctors and the nurses could not give out to Artesia Police Department, could not give out to anybody without a waiver from my client, and we've never waived it. In addition,
now are you talking statements made by her and her medical records?
Yes, Your Honor, and that would also include lab reports and stuff.
Okay.
Anything that happens at Artesia General Hospital, and there's a case on that as well that says, hey, that includes lab
Yeah, I
reports.
want to look at the annotations. I don't see that. I'll have to pull it. Let me ask you another question. Is information, because obviously cleaning staff, what, about 2 hours after the event? Is that what you said? They go in around 2 in the morning?
Yes,
And then around a little past midnight, cleaning staff goes in around 2-ish, right?
that's correct.
And they discover the deceased child.
Yes, after they're in I can tell you the exact times on that based
Okay.
upon the records and stuff. At 2:08 in the morning, the ER staff, janitorial staff started cleaning the bathroom. At 2:27, they call in a male nurse because of what they found in the bathroom. They found the baby, and then that nurse takes the baby into an examining room, and at 2:38, the doctor pronounces the baby deceased.
So let me ask this. Notwithstanding a doctor-patient privilege, what about the hospital's obligation to report the deceased child? Is that privilege? Are you claiming that as, okay, that's where I was headed. Okay.
They have a duty to report it. They call 911. It turns out that the police were there. The emergency room wasn't busy, but it turns out they were real close by anyway. And they were there quickly. But no, they have an obligation to report it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this, and I'll try to be as succinct as possible. Really, everything, the state's case hinges on what happens in the bathroom, and there are no other witnesses but my client to that. And whatever the experts are saying, whether it's OMI, my experts, and such, are going to say about that. But basically, that's the situation, is if for that 18 minutes, there are no other witnesses. But everything before that, because there's no case before her, she doesn't have the baby except in the bathroom, Judge. That's the point. And before that, there were no issues that I think aren't covered by the privilege. And then after that, obviously, they end up taking her to a room. Obviously, people see all the blood, and they realize they have to do some examination. The doctor goes in, doesn't talk to her because they don't know that she had a baby, but they think there may be other complications. And then after they confront her, the doctor and the two police officers in her room, then after that, the doctor intervenes again and says, listen, I got to helicopter her. We got to airback her to Roswell. We don't have people here in this hospital to take care of it. And she is bleeding to death if we don't get her treated.
BG says, I'm back and forth from the computer. Did the boyfriend know about the pregnancy? There was an article I read on Daily Mail. Hope I have it right. That they already had a name for the baby. So what does that sound like? They knew. Okay, let's resume. Yep. Mama and Papa knew. Because when you think about it, when I showed that body cam of him, her mother, and his mother, I'm assuming that was his mother next to him, and they was all sitting there. If you really think about it, him, the baby father, he didn't look too shocked. And then the woman that was sitting next to him, I'm assuming as his mother, she didn't look too shocked. Like she kind of knew. Yep. But, honey, he gonna walk. He's gonna be fine. You're the one. And he's gonna move on and find himself another woman. All right, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen.
Treatment at Loveless and Roswell. So they airbacked her to Roswell after that. And of course, the police let that happen, although she was in custody at the time that they went into the room. The doctor specifically states in the.
And another thing, they've been together, if I'm correct, for 2 years. Right? So if they've been together for 2 years, that means sex for 2 years. I'm just assuming, right? A man will know your body. Sometimes the man knows when our period is going to come before we know. They know that we're pregnant before we know. So if they've been together for 2 years and being intimate, he knows her body, knows her changes. Really, let's look at this picture right here. Okay? It's clear as day that she's pregnant. The stomach's just sticking out. Just look at that. And I have questions about, the school, the staff, the cheerleading coach, the teachers, everybody. Nobody didn't notice this? Really? Interesting. All right, let's get back to
the reports. And this is not in dispute because it's in the records and it's in the police reports. The doctor deliberately waits after they find the baby. The doctor deliberately waits until, and no other staff goes in until police officers arrive, and they all go in at one time. And that's where we get into the Miranda issues. So for the privilege, I'm saying everything's privileged up to the time she goes into the bathroom. Everything's privileged after she comes out, because it's all part of the privilege.
Okay, now let me stop you here because I want to clarify. I'm looking at Rule 504. We have the doctor-patient privilege. This is an exception to the other rules. Who has the obligation? Does the doctor, and is this in case law? I'm not seeing it here in the privilege. It says who may claim the privilege. Is the doctor obligated under this act or anything else to invoke it, or at least advise the patient of their privilege, or invoke it on behalf of their patient? What is their obligation?
The doctor and the hospital's obligation is, until they have a proper waiver of that privilege, they can't talk about it. And here's,
okay. And then she has to make a knowing waiver after being advised what her right is in event to waive it.
Well,
right?
There's no case law on what a knowing waiver is. That's always been, did she sign a waiver? Okay. We've always done that on a case-by-case basis. I'm not going to tell you that I have a particular case, although I haven't done this in civil cases, and in other cases, classically, there's a written waiver that is signed that you can waive that. And that's not done in this case. And my client is not a child. She was 19 at the time. They had the waiver from her. They never got it. And here's the problem for all of us in this case. Okay. There's a huge problem. Is mass media, social media, how it got out is, I guess, an issue that the district attorney and I will have to look to sooner or later. But the truth is, it got out. All these records, all these videos were out. Now, somebody from Artesia had to disclose that. Every one of them gave a statement to police. They shouldn't have without a waiver. They all gave records they shouldn't have without a waiver. They gave a video they shouldn't have without a waiver. Or and classically, when you read the case law, there are three ways. Number one, you get a waiver from the patient. Number two, a court orders it. There is no court orders in this case. They didn't go down and say, Judge, we need a search warrant. We need an order from you, ordering the hospital to turn over the stuff to us. They never did that. They just did it. And then, in fact, there's a videotape in this case where the officer goes in and asks the administrator of the hospital, what do I need to do? He says, well, just send me an email. That doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it under HIPAA. It doesn't cut it under this rule. So my point is that the privilege applies. Now, I could choose to waive part of that as her attorney, or she could waive part of it. We haven't chosen to waive any of this. And as a matter of fact, the state knows this. At the very beginning of the preliminary hearing in this case and the motion, what I did was
I think he accidentally pressed the mute. This is not me, it's on his end.
Mr. Mitchell, I was muted, you're muted. Something happened. I don't know what. Can you repeat everything you just said? I am sorry. It just, my screen muted you.
I don't know how long I was muted for, but here.
Let's go back about 60 seconds, I think.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Here's the point, Judge. I've never waived this on behalf of my client. My client's never waived it. At the preliminary hearing in this matter and the motion to set conditions of release, I objected right before we ever got started receiving evidence to the court, exercising the privilege, alerting the court to the issue, alerting the court to HIPAA, alerting the court to the doctor-patient privilege, and my belief that it covered Artesia General Hospital in this case. Mm-hmm. And he gave me a continuing objection throughout the entire hearing, and I've never waived it since then, and I've never waived it before this court. So that's what we think is covered by the privilege. So all these medical records, all of these statements by doctors and nurses that were taken without waiver, all of the lab reports, not the state lab reports, not those that come on the examination of the baby, but those that were examination of my client, that would be the blood test results, pregnancy test results, things of that particular nature. All of that is privileged. Everything there is privileged and should never have been disclosed. And we need a determination from the court that it's privileged. And if the court decides it's privileged, then unless I waive it, or there's another, and I don't know of any other reason, because the privilege is a privilege, under Roper and Burchard and the rule, that remains privilege and cannot be used in court. So that's the argument on the privilege. And I'll submit it to the court in that regard. And then we can argue the suppression issue later.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I'm looking at the act. Privilege is that to be claimed by the patient or their guardian or custodian, which doesn't apply. It's a personal right by the patient. And it says who may assert the privilege on their behalf would be their physician or whoever treats them. Authority to claim the privilege is presumed, absent evidence to the contrary. Exceptions, well, it says by order of the court. Okay, so I understand what I'm looking at. Let me hear your side of this argument, Ms. Luce.
Your Honor, basically defense in their motion raised three issues. They raised the issue of Miranda, they raised the issue of HIPAA, and they raised the issue of privilege by the rule. Mm-hmm. Let me start with the issue of Miranda. Okay. The issue of Miranda, she was not in custody. Statements that she made once the police were there were actually statements initially that she blurted out. Officers asked her no questions. And then her mother, who is present with her in the treating room the entire time, is saying things to her. And the officers actually tell the mother to stop, that she, has Miranda rights and that she should be advised. And so we think the Miranda issue is really not an issue. There's not a violation of Miranda. And we put that in our response. The second thing is HIPAA. The defense puts HIPAA in here. HIPAA is really a red herring. Has nothing to do with the criminal case. There's no remedy. It's not a constitutional protection. It's a statutory protection in which a penalty can be against the facility, the physician, and that is the civil suit that 2 civil suits, I believe, that defense counsel has already.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Mitchell doesn't disagree with you on that point.
Right. Well, no, but he put it in his motion, Your Honor, and so
okay.
For the purposes of the record, the state's just making an argument.
He acknowledged to me that the HIPAA is it's a federal issue. It's a remedy that doesn't even run to the patient, apparently.
Right.
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 Okay.
So it really had no place in his motion, but it was there. So the third is the rule. And so let's start with defense has kind of combined a lot of things together. Statements made by treating personnel, doctors, nurses, records, video. He's kind of lumped all that together. The state doesn't believe that's proper. First of all, the defendant's mother, this defendant is an adult, the defendant's mother was present at all times. You can't have privilege if a third party is present in the room. And so
You just went mute again. I'm having trouble with this. I think it's our system. Okay, go ahead. It's about 10 seconds. Okay, go ahead. I think.
The defendant's mother is present in the room with her at the emergency room. She's not with her in the restroom, but she's with her when the nurses, doctors, anyone is speaking with her. You can't have a privilege if you have a third party present. You've already, by your own actions, letting your own mother be there, waived that privilege. So statements that are made are not going to be protected under this rule. She's an adult. If she was a minor, that would be different. So statements, that's one thing.
You're muted again.
Records, the hospital records, the police department was given the records, but they did apply for a search warrant and obtain records properly by court order. And so a claim of privilege that we didn't get them by court order for a crime, the state believes that that is the exception. And allows us to use those tests from the lab as well as the records. The third thing is apparently the claim of the security video for the hospital for the hallway. The state would submit.
You're muted again. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Your Honor, it's showing that there's somebody on as a participant that is muting people, just so that the court knows.
Okay, that's good to know. If anybody's trying to mute,
Well, they got a
please stop
troll on the
messing with the system, all right?
on Zoom.
You can mute yourselves, but please don't mute my litigants here. All right, go ahead.
So, Your Honor, the video in the hallway, defense is arguing that that video is privileged. The hallway would be a public corridor within the hospital. It's not a private patient room. It wasn't the restroom. The fact that other people can access that hallway and be in that hallway, we don't believe that there's any right of patient physician confidentiality for a public hallway. It wouldn't be any different than when the court has a closed proceeding in the courtroom. Whatever's going on in the hallway of the courthouse is not a protected, secluded area. And so for them to try to argue that because it shows a bathroom in the hallway where she comes in and out of, that doesn't make it patient protected privilege. So I think really you have to separate out the three.
Again, go ahead.
The three types of evidence involved, from statements that are made where her mother is in the room and then later the police are in the room. It's definitely argument for defense counsel to say that the doctors deliberately, intentionally waited for the police to go in. I think that's probably at this point an assumption on behalf of defense counsel, because we've had no doctor testimony to say that. But either way, the fact that the mother was already in the room, there's no right of privilege. There's no claim of privilege. That's been waived. She came with her mother. She allowed her mother to be present. The court would be familiar that a patient has a right to not have other people in their room. They ask if it's okay if that person stays. That's normal treatment. The state would submit. So, Your Honor, we believe there are three different things going on here. And for defense to lump it all in and say it's all privilege before the court, we would disagree. And so we don't believe there is a privilege based on our argument to the court. I do have the officers on if the court wants to hear from them, since it is a motion to suppress of what happened once they were there. Once they were in the room, they were then had body camera. The reports have been submitted. I don't know if the court deems that sufficient. If you want to hear from them, that the state is glad to put on these witnesses. We would also ask, Your Honor, to be able to submit proposed findings and conclusions, because this is a rather intricate argument, and I believe the way the defense has framed it and the way the state is framing it are very different.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. It is apparent to me there may be some distinct acts or events that occurred that are privileged or may be privileged. I'm seeing other. I can't lump this into one event, a long-running event. I think we've got, for example, I'm thinking that the whatever happened in the hallway, which I think is just a video of her going from, I guess, a treatment area down the hallway into the bathroom, right? That's a public area. I can't see that video would in itself be a privileged video. I've got other questions about other parts. I do think it's a good idea that you submit findings of fact in this case. I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Mitchell. I've got to tell you, I don't know how much of it I did see, but I was aware, I think it was around the time the pretrial detention hearing was occurring, which I did not conduct. That was not assigned to me. That was Judge Finger. There was something on the news, one of the Albuquerque channels, which I think was the video you're referencing. I think there was a physician, I guess he was an ER physician.
Judge, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just was. Who is
something? Jad.
Okay, somebody named Jad SD56 is muting us. Please stop. I'm going to have to ask him to leave
Get
this.
rid of the troll.
He just left the meeting, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, that helps.
And Judge, you were asking a question when you went on mute.
Yeah, I think I was telling you that I saw I was just passing through a room in my house and there was some news report. This was immediately after the pretrial detention hearing was conducted. And it shows a video. It shows I think it's the ER doctor. I don't know. I believe it was. And there was a police officer. I thought it was a state policeman, a police officer. And there was conversation going on. That's about all I know about that. That's the one you're referencing. Is that right, Mr. Mitchell?
No. That came from an interview later on when the police are interviewing the various nursing staff. That's a charge nurse that you're talking about. That you were talking to, he also was the one that took the baby from the bathroom into an examining room and called the doctor to come down. That charge nurse.
That's different. So talk to me about, here's what I have on my mind about the state alleges that Ms. Trevizo waived any privilege by allowing her mother in the room when she was in this, you say it was custodial investigation or interrogation. Does anybody speak? She was advised she was not free to go, right? Is that undisputed?
Well, they say so in their reports. And Judge, I gave you the video. You have the video among the exhibits I produced.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll see that later then. So
you can see exactly what happened. But really, in answer to the court's question, number one, my client's mother came with her into the emergency room. And she was present, except when she went down into the bathroom. She was not present in the bathroom. She was present during most of this. And then she was present later on when the doctor and the two police officers come into the room. Now, I want to be real clear about these facts. After the 18 minutes, you see my client go down the hallway to the bathroom, and then 18 minutes later, she leaves the bathroom and she comes down and goes back into the examining room. Now, the doctor went into the examining room to do a quick vaginal exam because they didn't know what had happened. They had not found the baby at that time.
okay.
And they do a quick vaginal, she gets undressed, they do a vaginal exam. None of that's recorded, obviously, on video. It's in the privacy of the room. The doctor's there, but they have not found the baby yet. And so, again, the mother is present then. I want to be upfront about this. And then, the cleaning staff finds the baby, and then they call the charge nurse. The charge nurse takes the baby into an examining room, and then calls the doctor. And then it's after that, and this was testified to, and I know I say this very respectfully to Diana. She wasn't the attorney that handled the preliminary hearing.
You're muted again.
I don't know what's going on there, but I'll keep my finger on it, Judge.
I know, I'm not touching a thing. And
we may have so many people on there that's the problem. Anyway, I was saying that after they find the baby, then is when the doctor, who also testified at the preliminary hearing, indicated she waited after they found the baby to go back and talk to her patient, my client, until police got there. They called 911. The police were there. We're not talking about a lengthy period of time here. We're talking about within minutes, really quick. And the police were there. The sergeant comes, the officer comes, and then then they talk to the doctor. They go in the room, and in the room at the time is my client, her mother, the doctor, and the two police officers are standing, and she can't leave. And that's in their reports that by that time they've got this information. They have a baby that's deceased. They have a doctor. They have the baby, and they have information, and they're going in to talk to the mother.
And let me interrupt you there now. Ms. Luce has asserted that because her mother apparently was already in the room, that statements made by your client were, I guess, impliedly waived because her mother was, she's an adult. I think it's based on that. I mean, if she were a minor, it'd be a different situation altogether. Can you address that?
I can, and you need to address it in two ways. Number one, what does the presence of the mother do to the medical doctor-patient privilege? That's number one. Number two, what does it do under Miranda suppression rules? Well, the latter first. Under Miranda, it doesn't matter who's present. They have to read her when she's in custody and she couldn't leave. The officers were there. They say it in their reports. And then they don't read her Miranda. The doctor asks a question. And you can't do that. I've cited some cases and wrote on that. in the response or the reply to the response. And that's a different situation. And Miranda would still.
You're muted again.
And whether or not that gets suppressed or not is the determination the court has to make. That's a different and separate issue. Now, does the privilege at the hospital apply with the doctors and everything, with the mother being present? My position is, I'll try to do some further research on this. I agree with Diana. We need to do findings and conclusions and give you some case law about this, so you're not deciding this thing in a vacuum. But my position is the doctor-patient privilege still applies, because we do this all the time in hospitals. We have spouses present. We have family members present because they brought them in. And a lot of times the people aren't in their right mind to make decisions anyway and need a family advisor. We do this in hospitals all the time. I'm sorry, it doesn't get, whoa.
Well, okay, you're good.
Wow. It doesn't get rid of the privilege. It's my position.
All right. That's what I really, and that's going to be a real important factor for me to examine and I do think before I make any really hard decisions, you're getting my impressions on stuff, but I would really like to have your finding of facts, conclusions of law before I can really have studied this. So that's something I'd like both sides to give me some authority on about that. Is it impliedly waived if you allow another person in the room? All right.
All right, Judge, that's that. I think the other issue was this that you had before you today was a modification of the release provisions. Judge Finger cited to the domestic violence section and issued a ruling that my client not have physical contact with her boyfriend, the father of the child. And even though I don't know what he could testify to in this case.
Hold a second. Did they say some sort of domestic violence charge? With the father? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to rewind that because I didn't quite understand that. We're going to have to rewind. Yep, we're going to have to rewind. Okay, let's hear this one more time.
Give me some authority on about that. Is it impliedly waived if you allow another person in the room? All right.
All right, Judge, that's that. I think the other issue was this that you had before you today was a modification of the release provisions. Judge Finger cited to the domestic violence section and issued a ruling that my client not have physical contact with her boyfriend, the father of the child. And even though I don't know what he could testify to in this case, that the state considers him a witness, they can consider him a witness. But here's the problem, and we've honored that. I mean, he was present during legal proceedings, but in the courtroom when we had the, for example, when we had the preliminary hearing, he was seated in the audience. That's the, and
Okay.
here's the problem that I'm asking. They both attend the same university.
Okay.
It's the second largest university in the state, but they both attend the.
You're mute.
Yeah, my client is trying to stay at home, and take classes from the university. So we tried to avoid that problem this semester because I didn't have an order and hadn't had this heard before then. But I'm asking that the court take a look at the motion and the state's response, because one, I don't believe we can order that in that fashion because of the cases I cited to the court, including Johnson and some other cases. And two, she has not violated that whatsoever. The judge allowed them to communicate via telephone and or gosh, there's so many different media ways to communicate, but they couldn't be in person. And she's honored that. She doesn't go out at all Other than to come to my office, the court allowed her to go see her grandparents. And other than that, she's at home. She doesn't go out. You don't see her at Walmart, anywhere else. But going to college and of course, her professors, even though she's doing this by Zoom, I'm not sure what they're going to require when it comes time for examinations as to whether she can do those via that method or she has to go to down to the university and take examinations. We're trying to avoid all those problems this semester, but in any event, we have some time to consider this, Judge, but wow. In case you need to have more time to look at it, or the state needs more time. But I would ask that restriction of being able to have contact and with her boyfriend be removed, and that and the other reason for bringing this is I didn't want her to get in trouble in another city because they run across each other in a classroom or on the campus, even if it were by accident. I mean, we're just trying to.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me in the chat. Are they saying that he got the order protection on her, the boyfriend? What are y'all getting? Just help me here, because I'm a little confused. Or maybe I'm not. I don't know. Let me know. Resume. Or to the people that's watching replay, fill it in for me. Let me know. Resume.
Everything up front. There's not been any issue otherwise. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, let me ask you some questions because I'm kind of limited on what I can pull up and do my own research while I have my screens up here. I can't quite do that. It says I guess the authority that the prohibition was issued is under 3311.
Okay, what Melanie says. No, Donna. The DA put a gag on them because he is a witness. So you're okay. The DA, the district attorney, put a gag on them because he is a witness. So, okay, I get what you're saying. I'm like, but, I think that there is a court, okay, Nell Gigi says, I think that there is a court order for them to stay separate. All right, Melly says something else. They don't want the two of them to have a chance to make a undefined story. Oh, they want to separate them. Okay. I can't explain what I'm going to say, but I believe I get what you're saying. Okay. Interesting.
B. Can you summarize that for me? What is that?
That is the domestic violence statute. Let me hang on just a second, Judge. I can pull it up real quick. Let me get to the argument. Give me just a split second here.
Your Honor, it's the nature of the relationship.
Okay.
That's what the court was citing to in the conditions of release at the pretrial detention, defining continuing personal relationship.
That is correct. But my point is, this is not a domestic violence situation between the two of them whatsoever. And that statute shouldn't apply. What should apply is that we can't, she hasn't been convicted of anything. She's not on probation. And as long as they don't discuss the case, they should be able to see one another. And that kind of prohibition, and I don't want to get into all the marriage equality cases, but those are the cases in which really the rights that you have in that regard have been explicitly spelled out by our Supreme Court in the cases that I've cited to the court. All right.
Okay. Well, I was wondering because I was thinking that was under some domestic relations ruling. That's what I thought. Okay. So this is under the DV statute?
Yeah.
That's the authority that was used to prohibit the contact?
It was.
It's not because he's a potential witness. Is that right, Miss Luce? He's not going to be a witness in the case.
Your Honor, he could be a witness, but at the point that Judge Finger made in the findings, he mirrored what Judge Shoebridge did in the Alexee Trevizo case. Was that he did not want her to have a relationship that could result in a pregnancy. And we end up in a similar situation again as to what had occurred. That is what Judge Finger was doing in restricting. It was restricting contact. And the state disagrees with defense counsel that the court doesn't have the authority to do that. The analogy would be a DWI case and the court saying you cannot consume alcoholic beverages while this case is pending. Once probable cause is found and probable cause has been found, this court can set restrictions to ensure that there is no conduct that could lead to a further crime involved in this case. And that is why Judge Finger made that restriction. He used that definition because, they weren't married, that maybe they weren't officially boyfriend, girlfriend. He used that continuing personal relationship to say that she was not to have that. The court can look at what happened in the Alexee Trevizo case out of Lovington with Judge Shoebridge. He specifically restricted her from having any contact with any male individuals that were not family individuals. Obviously she had people that lived in her home with her. Because of the nature of what had happened, recognize in that case that child survived. This case is different. And so the state believes that the court can fashion conditions of release that allows her to attend a university that this same individual could attend. Maybe they're in the same class, maybe they're in the same lab, the same bookstore, the same restaurant, but it's no different. There's no reason for her to have a relationship with this person based on what the facts of this case are at this time. They haven't made any showing that there's any. They didn't bring him in to testify. They didn't bring in a proffer of what's going on. And Your Honor, we believe that condition is appropriate based on these circumstances. You have to remember part of the state's case that we believe that is not privileged are her statements she made without being questioned by a doctor, without being questioned by law enforcement. She volunteered statements that she would not have to be given Miranda before she's volunteering a statement. She alleges she's not pregnant. She's not had sex. All those things. So we believe it's an appropriate condition of release. We believe the court can say that she can be in the same classroom with him. She can attend the same campus. That's not what the restriction is.
But it only runs us to this one person in this case, right?
That's right, Judge. It only runs to one person. And I don't want to get into other medical privileges that she has. Suffice it to say, I have made certain that she's had proper medical care since. And with doctors that I have lots of confidence in a different community. And the Judge Finger was confronting and his fear. We've taken great steps to make certain that doesn't happen.
Well, I would really like to look at this more, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify the conditions of release. I'll allow her to go. It's New Mexico State in Las Cruces, right?
That's correct, Your Honor. It is.
Big university, huge. I don't know what the student count is, but I'm sure it's several thousand. Las Cruces is a sizable city. Personally, counsel, I'm really trying to get in my mind how you can invoke a domestic violence prohibition against personal contact. First off, nobody's invoked the DV statute. There's been no allegation of domestic violence. I don't think that translates into this. I really don't. My my gut reaction is that does not translate. Granted, you can order that anybody who's under charges cannot commit any further criminal acts. And I certainly think that's absolutely reasonable. She should get her conditions revoked if she gets charged with any further criminal acts. But I don't see how the DV statutes can even be applied in this case, notwithstanding what Judge Schubert said originally or anything else. Certainly, if she commits any other criminal act, she should have her conditions of release reviewed, absolutely. But I really don't think that a DV statute defining continuing personal relationship and prohibiting such can be translated into this situation. That's my read on it. Honestly, I think you can stretch that. I do advise that she may not commit any other criminal acts of any sort. I don't want her to get a traffic ticket or anything else. I'll let her go to Mexico State. That's a big, big university.
Thank you, Judge. I'll do an order on it. Judge, how many days or weeks may Ms. Luce and I have to do findings and conclusions? And I assume the state would rather I proceed with mine first so they can respond, but I don't care how we want to do it.
How do you want to do this? I wish I had a good clerk to help me with my legal research. You know, this is all on me, so you got little old me doing this too. So,
well, Judge, what if I have my Ms. Lewis, what suggestions do you have for when we
how
get
long do you need to get a findings of fact to me?
Okay, well, Your Honor, we usually do 2 weeks. And then we'll give the, it's going to go to the second.
Got somebody. All right. I'm going to mute them.
Wow, they got
If
some
you're gonna
trouble
have-
here.
Trying to get in and out constantly by using our names on here.
Folks, I need everyone to mute other than counsel. Thank you.
Your Honor, 2 weeks is fine. I can get mine to the court in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Findings and conclusions on these issues.
All right.
And I'll do the orders on the others.
Okay.
And
And then, Your Honor, if we can have an additional week before we have to file our findings and conclusions.
Sure. That's fine.
that's fine with me, Judge.
All
And do we want to do anything on that deposition situation today, Ms. Luce, or would you rather we wait on that and you and I just talk?
Your Honor, I would ask that if we can't come to an agreement on it, that we set that at a later date.
Sure, that's fine. Okay. I got to tell you, both counsel, and I really do appreciate you're both rational, confident, really good attorneys, and I really enjoy having you in my court, and you save this court a whole lot of headache. I appreciate that. That's duly noted.
All right. That's all I had for today.
Okay.
What the heck is that? They got trolls. Oh my gosh.
Somebody. Isabel is having a little hissy fit here on our sound system, I guess. I don't know who Isabel is. All right. Okay, counsel. And Miss Luce's screen. Okay, no, she hadn't. It was frozen for a second. All right. If you'll all prepare me the appropriate orders, what I'm taking under advisement is the issues on the suppression motion and privilege motion, and you'll submit findings of fact to me in 2 weeks and then an additional week after that. All right.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, folks. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We'll be in recess.
Ooh, let me change the settings so y'all won't echo. Finally, I remember beforehand. All right, that's the end of the video. Unless it was some sort of troll was gonna say the thing. But thank you, Jack, for being here, and thank you, Melanie, for being here. Girl, share your thoughts. What do you think? We're not holding you against. We're just talking. Everything we say is our thoughts and opinions. So, Melanie, what do you have to say about this? I'm confused with this domestic violence thing.
I was a little confused by it too,
Yeah.
until I realized it wasn't domestic violence. Then they called him a witness. So then I can understand why they don't want the two of them to talk, because um they can make up their own story that matches. But then she did the prosecutor didn't go to that. Then she goes to, no, we don't want her to get pregnant again. But wait a second. You shouldn't get pregnant again. That's for darn sure. However,
Okay.
she's not been convicted of anything. So you cannot take away her rights. So whatever they're doing, I don't like it when they play dirty pool. So
Mhm.
and then when they say she cannot commit another crime, correct, but having sex and getting pregnant is not a crime.
Yeah, that
So
isn't. I missed that part 'cause I think I was so caught up on something else. But if they saying that, you're right. Having sex and she gets pregnant, so what?
it's not a crime. Should she? Oh God, no. But
Right. Mhm.
but it's not a crime. I just want a clean prosecution. I just want a facts-based, lawful prosecution. And I think some of the stuff they're pulling isn't all that facts-based and lawful. And that's a quick way to mess up a guilty verdict, you know?
Yeah,
So
that doesn't add up. It just doesn't. So, but basically, the way the judge was talking, like she doesn't understand that. The
correct.
judge was kind of like it. It just doesn't add up. Why you even have this?
Correct. I
Oh,
got the feeling, I kind of got the feeling, I stepped away and took a call from my sweet mama. But
mhm.
what I did see, I got the feeling that the 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 defense attorney was making some very valid points to the judge.
Yeah, I was kind of noticing that too. Yes, he was.
You know, privilege. She was not Mirandaized,
Hmm.
and you don't have to be until you're put into custody or they try and take statements from you.
Hmm.
Um, but they most definitely told her she wasn't free to leave. So if you're not free to leave, you're in custody.
Yeah, I remember that. They did tell her she wasn't free to leave.
Yeah. So again, let's just do it right the first time so we can use this crap against her. I'm a little concerned about that 18-minute delivery. How did she go from ready to pop in a room with a doctor and a nurse and they don't know she's pregnant, run down a hall, and 18 minutes later come back not pregnant anymore?
Yeah, because we watched that body cam, and that was the quickest delivery. She just that doesn't no, it doesn't add up.
Or a full-term baby, first baby young girl.
Mm.
I
Oh, we got an LGG in the house.
Hey,
All right, Diva.
I'm in the grocery store. I'm doing Instacart, so you might hear background.
Okay, we got you. Let me take up this banner here. Okay, now
hit us with it.
finish your thought. What you were saying, Melody.
Oh, that was it. Is I don't understand how she delivered so quickly and them not know she was pregnant.
So here's the thing with that. So her
Okay.
mom said that she had been in pain for like 2 or 3 days, but it was hip and back pain. And her mom assumed that the hip and back pain was because she was in a domestic violence relationship when she was pregnant with her. And
I
so
remember
she
that.
assumed, okay, so she was saying she thought it was just back pain. But in actuality, she was in labor. And that actually happened to me with my last son. I was in labor for a week, and then when I got to the hospital, I delivered him in 10 minutes. And then also, her labor and
Look,
delivery wouldn't have been bad because remember, she was very active. So she was a cheerleader and she's young. So her delivery You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be long, and you know what I'm trying to say. I can't think.
I know
Well,
what you're saying.
yeah, because with my two boys that I had, my first one was 5 hours, and my second was 4 hours, and I was working out after, so yeah, that
Right.
does help. That does
So
help.
like her labor was a little easier because she was so active, and being young or whatever, I think has a lot to do with it. Now, as far as when she got to the hospital, she had denied having sex. And she also denied a vaginal exam. So they couldn't check her cervix and see, if maybe she was dilated, if she really was pregnant. She refused the ultrasound. She did not want any medical treatment. She just wanted something for the pain. Now they did learn that she was pregnant via a pregnancy test, but that's all they had. They couldn't determine, if she was actually in labor, how far along she was, or anything like that. So they didn't know, she was getting ready to deliver. There was no way for them to know it. That's just my opinion.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it
interesting.
Mhm.
is extremely
Yeah.
interesting.
Because, normally, like if you go to the doctor and let's say they want to do an x ray, and maybe you have a broken bone or whatever, by law, they have to give you a pregnancy test first.
Uh,
And so they did. But she kept on denying, no, 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 I'm not pregnant. I never had sex, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's because her mom was there.
Oh,
And they can't force you, to, you have to give consent to do any of that. And if she said no, then that's just that. So it doesn't matter how much her defense attorney is saying, oh, well, they did this, they did that. I don't feel like they're liable because, if a patient comes to the hospital and they're refusing treatment, what can you do?
that's true. What can you do?
Ultimately, it was her responsibility. Like when you went to the bathroom, a baby came out of you, and you're in the hospital. It doesn't matter if your mom's there or not. It is what it is. Go and say, hey, you know what? I was in the bathroom. I delivered this baby. The baby, they could have helped the baby. If you didn't want the baby, you don't want the baby. You're not gonna go to jail.
You're right.
You
You're
know,
absolutely correct.
it just doesn't make any sense. And then it's like her attorney's like, oh, well, they gave her morphine. Well, okay, maybe they probably shouldn't have done that. I'll give him that. But other than that, no. You went to the bathroom. They knocked on the door. You didn't come out until they threatened to come into the bathroom. You knew what you were doing. Why did you wrap that baby up and throw it in the trash? There's no logic there. There's none. When you were in a safe place to where you could have easily just said, look, I had this baby, but I don't want it. No questions asked. They can't force you to keep a child,
Correct.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, I know the defense has to do his job, but no, you're not going to just blame everybody else. You're a grown adult. You're 19 years old. It doesn't matter what your mom says. You made
I,
a bad choice.
I think the defense attorney makes some very valid points. I'm not
Hmm.
on this girl's side. There were too
Hmm.
many other options, right?
Right.
You don't
Correct.
have
Hmm.
a baby and put it in a garbage can.
Right.
But I do want a clean prosecution, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I want the law followed.
Right.
So I think he makes some very valid points.
Like
But
as far
there's
as
I privilege. The fact that she wasn't Mirandaized.
but she wasn't in custody.
No, no, no. Gigi, they told her she could not leave. The police officer told her she could not leave.
So like if you're detained, they don't have to Mirandize you. They don't
But
have to
when
Miranda. Hmm.
but when you're detained, you can still leave, right?
You can you can't leave. The difference between an arrest and detaining, they detain you to investigate. When they arrest you, they know that you're going to jail because they have probable cause. So that's the point of being detained so they can get the probable cause.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so she was never under arrest. She didn't get hurt. They came to her house to arrest her, and her mom was interfering with that.
Gigi, rewind a little bit
Uh,
what you just said. You said she wasn't the. Just go back a little bit. What you just said.
okay, so when the hospital called the police, they came to detain her. So basically, when they detain you, it's for investigation. So they wanted to gather information to get probable cause to get an arrest warrant. So they have to talk to the doctor, they have to talk, to the medical staff, get her side
Oh,
of the story. What evidence do you have? Things like that. So that's what detaining is. When they arrest you, that's when they Mirandize you. They take you to booking, you have first appearance, and then you go on from that. Either they're going to give you some type of bail or you have to stay in jail. So that's the difference. So she wasn't Mirandized at the hospital. She was just kept there for questioning. And then they flew her out to another hospital. And then she went home. And then a couple weeks later, after they had the probable cause to arrest her that they got from the judge, then they went to arrest her at her house.
oh,
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Gigi is smack on. Now I remember it all. So
Because
here's my
remember, her
public.
mom was at the door, like, no, what are you arresting her for? I'm coming after you in the hospital once this is over. Remember that?
I
Yes.
think I've seen the video. I'm gonna show that tomorrow. I'll try to do
Hmm.
that tomorrow. But I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, thank you. I got a little
Yeah.
got clarity over here. Okay.
So the defense, he's just reaching at this point, like for anything, anything he can. But no, she wasn't Mirandized at the hospital at all. And she could have refused questioning. That's the thing too. Like she didn't have to answer any questions. She could have just said, I don't know what happened, and that would have been the end of it. They could not have arrested her because they didn't physically see her do anything. Nobody saw her do anything. Nobody had proof of anything yet.
Correct. Correct. So here's my public service announcement. Don't do
Hmm.
crimes, folks. Just don't do crimes.
Just
But
don't do it.
if you slip and you do a crime, you have the right to remain silent. And a
Hmm.
smart person remains silent, say nothing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so Gigi is making very good points, and we can use the example of Letitia. And they told her she was free to leave, and they
Yep.
did not Mirandize her, and
Right.
they got to use every bit of it in court because they can and
Exactly.
they will.
Hmm.
You're right.
See, they didn't
You're
have enough probable cause at that time, and that's why they called her in, just to see where her head was at. What can we get her to tell us? All the while they're doing their research. And then, by the time they arrested her, remember that search warrant affidavit came out? Remember
right,
somebody leaked it? That's all they needed to arrest her. So that's the
right,
same thing with this little girl.
right.
They had to wait on that autopsy report to come back.
And that's been leaked, but they're talking about putting it under seal, but
Yeah.
it's already been leaked. But do we know what's been leaked is a real one?
It was real. So that was the point of the hearing today. He was trying to suppress all of the evidence that was already. Hi, sweetheart. He was trying to suppress all of the evidence that was already made public because he probably wanted to use that during the trial, such as the oh gosh, the morphine that they gave her, the toxicology report from the baby. But the morphine is not what killed the baby. So it
Right,
doesn't matter if he uses that or not. That's not what killed the baby. So that was the whole purpose of this. He's upset because evidence was released to the public, and so whenever a defendant goes to court and say, I want to file a motion to suppress, that is basically to stop the prosecution from using that evidence during the trial because it basically is like bias to the defendant because the public has already been privy to it and it'll
right.
taint a jury.
And it's a big piece of evidence
Right. Yep.
because didn't it say there was oxygen in the
Hmm.
baby's lungs?
Yeah, the baby's lungs were aerated. So, yep, the baby took a breath and she still did whatever she did. Yeah, it's a lot of information out there.
So Gigi, do you know what the
Mhm.
cause of death was for the baby?
They called it entrapment because she tied the baby up in the trash bag twice and then covered the baby with one. So, when we breathe out that CO2 and you're breathing too much in without oxygen, that's it. And that's
Mm,
what killed the baby. That baby could have survived All you had to do just take your little trifling tail out in the hallway and just say, "Hey," I mean, it's over with now. Like, I mean, I don't never mind. See, my thing is, I would have rather somebody judge me for having a baby at 19 without being married or whatever she was thinking than going through all of this.
Right.
That's just people are judging you far worse than they would have if you just would have had a baby. And again, nobody would have even had to know your business. You could have just went in the home and said, "Look, I had a baby, but I don't know what to do." There are so many options available.
She could have handed that baby to any nurse in the hall and said,
Yes.
I just had this baby and I do not want it. I want to turn it in, and you cannot tell my mother. And her
Exactly. And
mother wouldn't even know.
hmm exactly, because she's an adult. Exactly. Excuse
Yeah.
me. And that would have been the end of it. That would have been the end of it.
But she
Nobody's
is,
judging you or anything. It is what it is.
yeah, but she is, I mean, it's not okay what she did. But we also got to remember she's still a child, not
Yeah,
making the
that's the
best
part I
choices.
have a little bit of a slight soft spot to. She's young, but it was just this prom. When I covered this prom thing, that's why I was like, wait a minute. This
The thing that gets me is that, excuse me, see what type of family dynamic is going on? My question, because what were you so afraid of? What was your mother
Exactly.
going to say to you and do to you? And what type of relationship do you have with your mother to where you can't just say, "Mom, I had sex and I became pregnant"? That's what
Gigi.
hurts me. You know?
Exactly. That's what I was waiting to say is we also don't know the stigma she was raised with. Is there a
hmm
stigma on premarital sex? Is there a
I
stigma
think
on giving
so.
a baby up? Is,
It's
what the stigma that she was raised with. So
right.
it's still not okay to put your baby in a garbage can.
No,
But
nope.
I think there's a lot of factors in here to weigh and look at.
hmm That's what makes me sad. I mean, we all know right from wrong. So I get what you guys are saying. Like, we can't really judge her too much because she's still so young. But I just, it's just a tough one. It's a
I,
tough one.
I had my first baby. I was 18. I didn't put her in a garbage can.
Right.
amen.
And
Mm.
like I said, there's so many options available. Like, if you only that you didn't want to be a mom and you gave the baby life, then that's just that. Like you said, I don't want the responsibility. There are so many families looking for
And
babies. You could have,
now, Gigi, what do you think of the
it's
with this what do you call it? Oh my gosh, the DV, the protection order. What do you think of that? What's your thoughts on that one?
on the boy with the boyfriend.
Yeah, what's your thoughts
I think
on?
that's just a defense strategy. I don't think that he was abusive to her. I think what they're going to try to do with that is say that he probably emotionally and maybe physically abused her to where she felt like she couldn't have a child with him or she wasn't in her right state of mind because she was being abused. I don't think
Oh,
he
wait a
was doing
minute.
anything to
So
her.
I guess maybe I didn't catch it, but it was defense who put it out there. They the one who asked for the I'm lost.
They probably did because I didn't you say, Melody, they the judge issued a gag order so that they can't keep in contact, right?
We cleared it up a little later on. So what happened is the state requested that she not be allowed contact with the boyfriend. And I thought it was so that they couldn't, you know, conspire a story together. But
Right.
no, the state said they don't want her getting in contact with him and getting
hmm
pregnant again.
There you go. Yep.
You don't have to say
This
that
is
to her.
crazy. I never heard of that. Wait a minute, hold up. She's 19 years old. He's trying to get pregnant again. Okay, dokie.
Well, I guess out of fear that she might do it again.
Yeah, but she
Well,
That'll
hasn't been
really,
convicted, Gigi. She's still innocent.
I
yeah,
She's
mean,
being
yeah,
accused.
I
They
hear
can't
what
take
you're
her
saying,
rights away
Gigi.
just
It's like
because.
it's like you don't want her to, you know what I mean. But then again, you can't stop the woman from if she do want to get pregnant.
I mean, that's very true. I guess just not with him, maybe just not.
Oh no,
I don't know. It's a
no.
mess.
It
That
that's
that that
the whole
DV
thing.
order covered all men.
It is
All
All
men that were
men.
not,
Oh, so she
it,
can't have any type
all
of
men
relationship.
that were not in her family. Well, the
Oh
judge
my
dropped
God.
it because they can't. They can't do that.
Right.
So they can tell her she can't do something illegal. It's legal for them to tell her that. But
Mhm.
having sex and getting pregnant is not illegal.
Yeah.
and we are like you said, Melanie. You know, we are innocent until proven guilty.
Mhm.
We
No,
don't take
and I hope she doesn't get pregnant. I don't want her to. You know,
Good
she's
God.
in therapy, and you know this is too much. But technically, we can't stop you from having sex, and if she gets pregnant again,
Right.
Hope,
you know.
hopefully somebody has convinced her to go get a Norplant. I mean, ooh, but yeah, we don't take them out back and hang them without a trial. We
Right. Right. Right.
we have a system. It works most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think that the judge dropped that.
Okay.
So, but I thought it was because I thought that they didn't want them to talk so that they couldn't conspire a story
Okay.
together. However, they went 2 weeks. They've already got a story conspired. So,
Yeah. Because now they're trying to sue the hospital.
Yep, trying to sue the hospital. But
Mhm.
I
listen,
don't think one thing I have to say is I don't think this boyfriend is all that innocent. Because when that article that I read, I'll try to do it tomorrow. But the article I was reading that they already had a name for the baby. So
Yep,
that
I
means
saw that.
you seen that too. So that means
Mhm.
Daddy O, you knew
You
y'all was
know.
sitting around laying in the bed together, rubbing stomach and saying, "Oh, this is the name." And then when it got down to, it was like, "Oh shoot, let's not have it." Yeah, you right. And that's it. We got to go to the prom.
Mhm.
And then they both
Yep.
at the prom smiling and grinning. But you know the thing about it is he's gonna walk free. Now, Gigi, he's
Yep.
open, and he gonna be
Mhm.
his new boo and move
Mhm.
on. And while she's gonna be ching ching.
Yep.
And that's the
Yep.
sad part. That's the part that bothers me the most about it because he needs to do something too. And that woman that was sitting next to him, I don't know if it was his mother.
That was his mom.
That was his mom. Didn't
Mhm.
she? What was your
They
thought?
all they all knew. They
Thank
all knew.
you.
That's why the
She
mom
had to
flipped
look.
out. That's why the mom flipped out when they got there because I believe that she thought her daughter had just gotten away with it and that was just the end of it. She was so shocked when they showed up at her door and so upset. But you're upset with the wrong person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You should have sat down with your daughter. I don't give a doggone. My daughter just turned 16. She came to me today and told me she was pregnant. I'm gonna be upset, but I'm not gonna make her feel like I don't want her anymore. You know,
Exactly.
you just deal with things like it's life. Things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you knew your daughter was in a relationship and it was a serious one, you should have gotten her butt on some birth control. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Uh-huh.
My goodness. I mean, you're upset at the wrong people.
I, I agree with Gigi on this one too. That I'm a mother. I have two daughters. And if either one of them came to me in that predicament, well, first of all, I know I'm the first person they're going to come to if they found themselves in a bad spot.
Hmm.
And number two, I'm going to support them. They're going to
Right.
know their options. I'm
Hmm.
going to hold their
Exactly.
hand. I'm going to support whatever choice they make.
Yep.
It's their choice. I will not
Hmm.
support you throwing a baby in a garbage,
Right.
right?
And
But we're
someone
not
left
going
me
to
a
do my
comment. Someone left me a comment on it. That's like a safe haven hospital. Is that the word for it?
yeah,
All hospitals are safe haven, fire departments, police departments. You have a baby, you have
church.
48 hours. Yep. And you go and you can take that baby and just say, no, you don't even have to say anything. They have a little box you put the baby in and they take the baby, no questions asked.
Oh, okay. No
Yep,
questions.
No questions asked.
Okay.
The
yep,
end. Like I
yep.
said, she could have took her butt in that hallway and just said, look, here go this baby. Um, and I don't want to be bothered. They can't make you keep a baby.
No, no, they nor do they.
No,
nor do they. I think that
no,
that's something. I think that's something we should all focus on is doing a little education on that, so that young girls know that these safe haven laws exist and where
exactly.
and what to do. Now, my daughters
Mhm.
would have never needed that. However, if they did, well, my daughters went to pretty liberal schools. I think they knew about it. I think my youngest daughter told me about it.
Mhm.
But but anyways, I think it would be very helpful to save innocent babies if we made sure girls knew about this,
Right.
you know,
And
and that
that's it's really
there's not
sad,
there's no
Melody. It's really sad when I hear stuff like this when children can't talk to their parents.
Mhm.
And this is important. You're supposed to, start when they're young, when they're babies, to
Yep.
tell your sons and your daughters, look, anything is happening. I might flip out. Mommy gonna get crazy. Daddy gonna get crazy. But
Right.
still, just tell me, "Shh, quiet, ma. Sit down and listen." I always tell my
Right.
boys that. Whenever I'm starting to go into some sort of mood, just be say, look, ma, not right now. Just listen.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Bingo. I'll sit down and listen. But I don't understand. So many in these relationships, these kids can't talk to their
They
parents.
can't talk to their parents.
It's
They
sad.
can't. Mhm.
It really is. It really is sad. You should be able to, if anybody, you should be able to go home and say, look, the outside world, you have so much drama and crap or whatever. But when you come into your household, it should be peace. You'd be like,
Yep.
I'm going through something, but look, I can talk to my dad, I can talk to my mom. They're going to flip out, but they will
Yeah.
hear me out. That's it.
Ma'am. Ma'am. Are these your bananas? No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Also, she should have told her daughter that just because you have a baby doesn't mean your life ends. Yeah, it's hard, but you can still move on and have a life and still do what you need to do. You know what I
yes.
mean? It's not the end of the world. Her baby
Exactly.
can leave.
Exactly.
What was going on that she felt that she had to do that?
Yes.
It doesn't add up. And it's
It
so sad.
doesn't.
And it's so sad because the relationship that she has in her household, now look,
Hmm.
she's gonna go to jail. He runs off with his new boo, have a good
Hmm.
time. Now think about her while her life is ruined. And you
And
couldn't
not
even
only,
talk. This is so sad. It really is on that end. Like she shouldn't have did it, but then I try to look at what was happening behind the scenes because she was raised by that mother. She was raised in that
right.
household. And you don't know the stuff that she might have drilled in her mother's head. And if they was
Hmm.
talking about the child's name, so maybe she was happy about having a kid, but when it got down to the deadline, it was like, oh my God, what we gonna do?
What
What
am
we
I
gonna
gonna
do?
do? Exactly. Exactly. The little girl didn't even know her social security number. When the police came to get her, her mom had to remind her, go to the bathroom and get some pads. You're still bleeding. Like treating her like a little girl.
You-
This is
Didn't.
a
You saw
19-year-old woman.
Gigi, you remember that thing on hands on face? Oh my God, you know what just
Yeah.
happened? I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? That whole scene was like, oh
Because
my
you
God.
remember, as soon as that nurse practitioner said, we found the baby in the bathroom. Who did she look at first? Right at her mom. She looked right at her mom. I'm
She did.
sorry, nothing was crying.
She did. She did.
She's so worried
her
about what her
mother
mom is
knew.
gonna do. Her mother knew. She probably
Her
wasn't
mother
there.
knew.
Hi,
Yeah.
how are you? Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
Hold on one second, y'all.
okay.
Yeah.
You're
Okay, sorry.
Mommy knew.
you're
Yep.
in the ER with your child. You don't supposedly don't know what's wrong with her. She's in a lot of pain. They've given her morphine and she disappears to go to the bathroom for 18 minutes and you don't go check her?
And
Thank
let me
you.
tell you
Right,
something.
she didn't go check her until the hospital was doggone beat down.
Yeah.
That's when she bring her tail down there.
Yeah.
And
Well,
furthermore, you're not paying attention to your daughter because you know when your kids, especially girls, when they start having sex,
Yes, you
you
know.
know.
And you be want to know why you not asking me to buy no pads? How
Uh
come the
huh. Uh
pads should not
huh.
get empty? You
Yep.
know.
You hear them throwing up and eating more, skin
Yeah.
change, mood change,
All of a
hair
sudden,
change.
yeah, all of a sudden your daughter's eating these type of foods like you ain't never was into that. Oh, you got these cravings.
Mm-hmm.
So you know. And just even like with my sons, I don't have girls, but I have sons, and I can even tell when something is going on with them. It's your child. You know when something is
You
happening.
know,
The other
especially
day,
if she. I'm
something
sorry.
was going on with my son, and I said to him, I said, "Oh, you having problems with your girl?" He said, "How you know?" I could tell because you acting really funny. I could tell y'all having a little arguments or something. He's like, "How you know, Ma?" Well, yeah. I said, "Okay, you see, because I'm your parent. We know when
Exactly.
somebody."
And that's the thing, like with girls, once they get in those quote unquote serious relationships, you know they having sex. You
Yes,
know they are.
at that age, we talking about
Yes,
high school.
19 and 19. Let's not forget. Well, she started dating him maybe when she was 17.
They was
Yeah,
together
they
for
was
2 years.
hunting.
They was together for 2 years.
Hmm.
2 years.
She knew. She knew. And she not going to say she didn't. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
none of it.
Mm,
So do you think the mother will catch a charge on anything?
no,
No, because she was an adult. The little girl was an adult. I don't think so.
everybody's gonna walk free, Melanie, but her.
Yeah, but her. Yep.
For her.
I don't think so. Because I don't even see, the only thing that I can see that they maybe could have charged her with had she not let the girl outside was obstruction, but nothing with that baby.
Hmm,
Yeah.
that's too bad. But
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, there was nothing illegal about
thank you.
what the
Right.
mother did. She was just
Right.
a crappy
Exactly.
mother.
Exactly.
You
Right.
know
It was
what?
nothing.
This is what I always say is that sometimes when you have these narcissistic, sociopath, toxic parents, and being raised by them, the stuff that you go through, sometimes what they do to your child that will destroy your future. And it
Right.
seemed like she had one of those toxic type of mothers. She destroyed her future. Now her daughter's going to be in jail. While
Hmm.
mommy's going to go about her business, he going to find himself a new boo, live happily ever after, and she's
And
hurt.
the mother didn't even cry. The stepfather cried.
Yeah, he
At the
go through it.
hospital, if you go back and watch that hospital footage, she just standing there in disbelief, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Oh
And
my
he cried and
God.
was actually like, inquiring about what happened. I would be devastated. I would be so, because
And
it's not like you had the baby on the floor. I wasn't home. You didn't know what to do when the baby, made
right.
an accident. You murdered. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. No, you did what you did to that baby. You wrapped that baby up several times. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna show those. I'll do that tomorrow. Hopefully, be able to because I had some more body cam footage with the nurses or whoever it was, the cleanup people that they were interviewed. I didn't show that. I'll show that tomorrow because I didn't get a chance
I've
to watch.
never been that scared in my life to where I could do something like that. And that's just me. And I'm probably sure I was raised differently, whatever. But I just not when I'm in a place that could have helped me.
You know what it is now, Gigi. This is my thought. When you have such type of parents that's so toxic, and you've been raised by them since you little, and you got so much fear, you so scared of them than anybody else. And you
That's
get so
true.
blindsided. You thinking about her, but you're not thinking like there's people that
Exactly.
will help you, that will
Hmm.
love you, they understand. But you so much of the mother, the father, the father. You know what I mean? So
Because I'm thinking about
mhm.
response. Lexi, what did I tell you about this? She didn't say, my poor baby, what happened? Were you scared? Like a mother would do, like you would be upset, but at the same time, like I didn't see her hug her daughter or,
No, she
it was
didn't.
nothing like, I'm here for you. Why did you feel like you had to do this? It was, Lexi, what did I tell you about this? Don't you see what happened to the girls on the news? What the heck does that have to do with anything, ma'am?
I couldn't believe that clip. I couldn't believe it.
Like to me, that your
Melanie,
daughter's
that was
crying out.
insane. I've never seen nothing like that. Your
That
daughter
made
did
no sense to me. She didn't hug her daughter one time and assure her, I'm not upset or just something. Nothing like that. It was just you telling me about what somebody did on the news. I don't care nothing about them.
I,
I
it was
just,
crazy. It was
it
crazy.
was.
I never
It
seen nothing like that.
was. It was.
Mhm.
I'm just really interested to see. She's gonna do some time. I don't think she's gonna do life, but she's gonna do some
Oh
time.
no. I don't think she's going to do more than 15 years.
Nope. I don't think so either.
Yo,
Hey, Clark.
I know, right?
hey, no, I was able to break free, but
Let's
Y'all
see what
talk
you
about that
Uh-oh.
lady. She ain't gonna do all that time.
No, she ain't gonna do that much time.
She'll
Now the
probably do
other girl,
about.
she
She'll
got
probably do
18
about.
years.
She'll probably do about 6 to 8 on good behavior.
You don't think well, they gave the other girl 18, but I think they gave her enough time for that baby to
Well,
become
I
an adult.
mean, just based on the certain circumstances, her mother and how the family set up, family structure set up, they're gonna look into that. A good lawyer will pry into that. Even
This
get the
attorney
mama
seems like a good.
and probably get the mama on the stand and make her confess some things, and
Yeah.
get the boyfriend on the stand, make him confess some things, and get some family members on the stand, make him confess some things. She'll probably get about 6 to 8.
I'm with Jack. I'm with Jack on that. I said
Excuse me.
I said less than 15, but I really kind of think it's going to be less than 10.
Because the way
Yeah.
you listen to the judge, it's kind of like the judge is like, you
Is
know,
that the judge that's going to be trying the case?
that's what seemed
Over
like.
the case?
I could be
Yes.
wrong. Oh,
Is it okay?
So it's a trial by judge.
no,
She's
no, no,
having
no,
a
no.
bench trial or a jury
Oh,
trial?
okay.
No,
Oh,
she's
It'll
okay.
gonna
be a
have
jury.
I don't know.
Jury
Okay,
trial.
jury.
Okay.
Now, I will say she might get off. If it's a jury trial, because think about it. Since these Supreme Court abortion issues become a problem, that could kind of sway in her
I don't think
favor.
she's going to get off because Alexis got 18 years and her baby didn't pass. So I think she's going to get some time.
Now, did this Alexis care to come from a decent family or dysfunctional family
She
or
came
what?
from a caring family. She just
Okay,
didn't want the baby and just,
okay. Then that's gonna be different from her. The other girl, obviously, she comes from a dysfunctional family,
yeah.
and the Supreme Court, how they crack it down on abortions, that could be also an influence.
Yeah.
What state did the other one come from, Gigi?
Mexico.
New Mexico? They're both in New
Uh-huh.
Mexico?
Yep. She got 18 years, and I think the judge gave her, he said that he was going to give her 20, but he gave her 18. But I'm thinking he gave her 18, and that would be so she can't have contact with her baby. The baby lived, and he's with his father.
Yeah, but at 18, is that a mandatory 18 or is that a serve 60%?
It's mandatory 18, yes. And she has to take some psych treatment while she's incarcerated.
She might do 12. She might be do 12 or 11
Yeah.
because that's
Oh,
state. I
this
mean,
little
that's
girl
state.
down.
Because federal is different. If it was a federal case, you'd be doing 90% of your time.
But
But
it is federal. It's
what?
federal.
Hold on. Which one is federal?
It's a federal charge.
Which
Both
one
of them, because the first one was attempted murder, and this one, I don't know if New
is
Mexico
that?
is
Hold on. Is that a state or
No,
federal?
no. These are
That's,
state
yeah,
charges.
these are state.
These are not
murder.
federal.
Yeah, murder is a
No,
state. Depends on the
state.
state. No, federal. It has to involve something like in the federal government, a federal agent. Let's say
Crossing the
FBI
state
kicks it.
line.
Yeah, if a Fed kicks in your door and they got proof you may did something like, let's say, God forbid, it's child pornography, and you shoot one of the federal agents and kill them, that's a federal charge.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. You're going to do 85 to 90% of that time in a federal case. But state, you'll probably do about 60%. Good behavior, probably a little less than that.
Lord have mercy.
Right.
I
Hey
just
guys,
really,
I'm gonna say goodbye to you guys. I'm jumping out. I just didn't want to jump without saying goodbye.
All right.
okay.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you. Thank you.
Melody.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you
See,
for your
Mel,
feedback, as always.
Oh,
You know what bothers me? We don't know like the whole story, but what bothers me that the boyfriend's
let me
gonna
slow
get off.
down.
That this boyfriend's
Yeah.
gonna get off. Nothing's gonna happen. That's what bothers me the most. She's going down by herself. You
You
know,
know,
and
I
it's
tell my
unless,
daughter
hold on,
all the
unless they
time
can
that it
prove,
doesn't matter.
unless they
You
can,
make decisions for yourself, and when it boils down to it, all you have is yourself. You know
unless
what I
they can
mean?
prove he had a hand in it, then okay. But if they can prove he had a hand in it, or he may have
well, listen,
co-conspired for her to abort the baby, or he may have convinced her to abort the baby, or he may have been part of that, yeah, they can get him.
Jack, they
I think
basically
that
trying
it
to
was
keep him down.
spontaneous, though. I don't think that she planned this. I think it was spontaneous, and also she probably wasn't thinking that she was going to give birth at the hospital. Honestly,
Oh, so you think that she was going there with a lot of pain, but she didn't know
she
it was going to happen at
she
some
didn't know
point.
she was in labor because a lot of people don't. Like if it's your first time, I know with my daughter, I didn't know I was in labor. I kept feeling like I had to have a bowel movement. I kept going to the bathroom, and then finally it clicked. Like, oh, you're in labor. So she probably didn't think this baby is coming out. She probably just lived her life in denial. Like, okay, well, she didn't get any prenatal care. Nobody's
Sure
prepping
did.
you for anything. Your mom is not prepping you for anything.
That's
You're
why
just
I said
living
she
your
may get.
life.
That's why I said she may get less time
And
because
then,
they can target her mother and say, okay, obviously the mother had had used some level of emotional abuse, psychological abuse, that sort of
to make
manner.
her
They
feel
can
like she
probably,
couldn't have a baby.
yeah, or they probably can bring a psychiatrist to the court and
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
testify and
I think
explain.
I did hear
See,
him say that he
if
was,
the lawyer is that good, that lawyer will
yeah,
bring all the guns to get her.
Yeah.
We know she's gonna go down for it, but the
right,
question is, uh, how much time we need to cut off of that, or
right.
it could be the jury may work in her favor and find her not guilty.
But I will say,
A plea of insanity.
I know they was trying to change jurisdiction, so we'll see.
what I will say after watching this judge with her pretty
Hmm.
silver hair, watching her hair wasn't it so nice and silver.
She was cute.
Yeah, she was. Watching that judge, I could tell whatever if the verdict is guilty, she's not going to get a harsh sentence. I could tell something about that judge. She's not going to give her a harsh one. I
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean, I wish I was at home because then I would just look it up and see. It depends on what the statute is. Was she charged with first degree?
Let me see. I can see something here. Let me see. 19-year-old Alexee allegedly gave birth in a hospital bathroom and dumped her newborn in the trash in January. Alexee claims that the baby was already dead, and her attorney is blaming the hospital staff. Now I'm going to show that tomorrow. The staff claiming
Hmm.
a nurse killed the baby by administering a cocktail of drugs. I'm lost on that part. The New Mexico teen is charged with first degree murder or
First degree.
totally abusing a child resulting in death and
Yeah.
tampering with evidence.
So what they'll probably do, like she has to give her the max for whatever, if it's capped as first degree murder, and then she can probably add on those other charges just to run consecutively.
Um, Whew, the first degree murder
It
is
just
serious.
the matter. It just depends, But she has to. Hold on. Sorry, I'm dropping this order off.
Oh no, no problem.
I got to get my tuition money.
Girl,
I'm
you doing it 3.9?
doing
You
this.
go,
Yes.
girl.
Thank
You
you.
you doing your thing. I am so proud of you, and thank you for sharing the good news. I love to hear good
Thank you
news.
so much.
I do.
So
I
she
love.
has to do whatever the state requires for that capital murder. I'm gonna keep calling it capital murder for that first degree murder. But like I said, she can knock off time for the other charges, or just have her serve them. Concurrent.
Mm.
So
It's,
you do them all together. It won't be.
you know how
Have a good night. Thank you. What'd you say?
we all look at it as like it's so evil what she did. I mean, she had other options, but when you
Mhm.
have parents that's so emotionally abusive to you for years,
Mhm.
they just destroy these,
They do.
destroy your future. But you know how people say is, well, you have to get over it. You're an
No.
adult now, but sometimes it's not that easy to get over. If you had this one person you lived with all your life and drilled this, told you ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly. I'm just saying, for example, you're gonna
Right.
grow up thinking you're ugly. It's
Yes.
gonna be.
And also, she probably, because I know her mom was saying that she was abused when she was pregnant with the little girl. So she
Yes.
probably drilled it in her head, like, don't get pregnant. You know, you get with somebody that'll beat you, or, you know, just manipulating her in that way. You just never know. It was something to where she felt like
Mm-hmm.
that was just the end of everything and she kept this baby. That's how I feel. But
It,
it just doesn't make it right. Like, I'm on both sides. Like, you know
it's
what I
trick.
mean?
It's trick. It's like, ugh, yeah. Because I know
It's
it would
really
hurt me.
sad.
It would hurt me as a parent if my children couldn't come to me to talk to me. Because I
Right.
always drilled since they was little, and then all of a sudden something major like this, and you couldn't come to me. Like I said, with my boys, I always told them, I said, I go through my little moments because us women we get like whatever, but just
Right.
say, stop and listen, Ma. I don't want to
Listen
hear
to
right now.
me.
Just listen. And once they go in that mode, I'd be like, okay, and I shut up. Gigi, I just totally shut up and I listen because I know right now they're
Mm-hmm.
not trying to hear. It must be something really serious.
Right.
But she can't seem to talk to her mother about nothing. And the mother had to know because she lived in the
And
house.
her showing, but she was showing.
Did you see her when she was cheerleading? When I
She was
showed that
showing.
video,
So what then? You just thought, okay, she gaining weight, but the stomach only? Like, come on.
how come you telling me the people on the cheerleading squad didn't know? The
They
cheerleading coach
said
didn't know.
they
Hmm.
did. So from what I read, they said that they approached her and confronted her, like, "Hey, are you pregnant?" And she was lying. Kept lying and said, "No, no, I'm just gaining weight." And allegedly, she was taking diet pills. Now that's what I read. This was in the Daily Mail. But they were inquiring, hey, are you pregnant? And she kept denying it, kept denying it.
Mm.
I mean, they can use the Supreme Court issue as a defense. The saying, ever since the Supreme Court decision, it has kind of put a lot of women on edge as far
Mm-hmm.
as what to do with the unborn child that they didn't plan or that
But she
may not be.
became pregnant before they reversed that though.
Mm.
I mean, they'll still apply it. Doesn't it won't matter. They'll still apply that and still
Mm,
say under these conditions during that
hmm.
period that put her on a lot of duress.
Yeah, I don't
And
know, but I mean, with
they
these
can.
safe. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying that they'll a good lawyer will exploit that
Yeah,
and then focus more on the mother and see how her upbringing was and how the mother reared her, and if it was an abusive relationship, oh, she's definitely going to get favoritism.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
oh
what the
gee.
that's what the lawyer has to zone in is on the mother. Zone in, hit her hard, put throw all the blame on her to where she starts going into a fit, a rage
I think
on the
that the
court.
defense attorney is just really in the hospital and just try to make it like the hospital was negligent. That's not gonna work.
You know what's
No,
gonna really
too many
mess her up?
cameras.
What's gonna really mess her? Because I had I felt sympathy for her, but when I seen this one, when I covered this with her going this prom, this right here is gonna kill her. That right there, because if there's gonna be some people that's gonna be on that jury, and they're gonna be like, wait a minute, you did this. You
Hmm.
don't seem so emotional. Look like you celebrating with your man, the baby father, and you going to the prom. See right there, that's gonna hurt her.
She can claim schizophrenia.
Well, that's the
I
point.
think they're probably going to try to use some type of mental illness, and again, he's going to try to say that the hospital was negligent, but that's not going to work because if somebody again, you can go to the hospital and refuse care, refuse treatment. They can't force you.
Yeah, they can't.
They cannot force you. They could not get her mother's consent to do anything to her because she was an adult.
Correct.
So
That's
you can go in there and say, "Oh, my back is just effed up." They can offer you a pregnancy test. You can say no. And that's the end of it. But they cannot, the hospital can't refuse treatment to you, but you can refuse treatment from the hospital. That's the thing.
mm,
So they can't just say, well, go home then. Your back hurt. Oh, well. They can't do that. They have to give you some type of treatment. But
mm.
if you refuse whatever treatment they offer, that's on you. That doesn't mean the hospital's negligent.
That's true.
That's where this defense attorney is getting it wrong, and he's trying to say a cocktail of medications. First of all, they don't give you no cocktail, no medications. Okay, they're gonna ask you what you're allergic to, and they're gonna give you something and
Hmm.
check on you every 15 minutes to see your level of pain.
Yep, your height, your weight, your allergies, and then they give you the medicine.
They give you the medicine.
Hmm.
See if it works. If it's not working, they have to call the doctor, and the doctor has to prescribe something else.
Exactly.
But
Ladies,
that's
I
only
gotta get
after a
on
certain
out of
amount
here.
of
I gotta make
time.
a phone call.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
Jack. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. I see y'all.
All right.
Hi, Jack. Yeah,
See
they
ya.
full of it.
Mm.
Get
So
these
we'll see what
t-shirts.
how you say, we'll see what the outcome is. But one thing I
Mm-hmm.
have to say is, it's just like I said before, it's just so sad with when you abuse these children and how it messes up the kids. And like I said before, the abuse these parents do to their children can destroy their future, and her future is gone.
It's
But the
gone. And she's in
hospital,
college.
I Melly said, but the hospital needs to release signed when a patient refuses treatment. Do they do?
No, the only time they need something signed is if you're admitted to the hospital and you want to leave AMA.
Oh, okay, okay, all
If
right.
you
And
go to the emergency room and you say my back hurts and they offer you Tylenol and you say no, I don't want Tylenol, that's the end of that. They put in a chart patient refuse medication, but you don't have to sign anything. From my experience working in the hospital, the patient doesn't have to sign that I refuse this. You just refuse it. The only forms that you sign is AMA if you want to leave, and like if you're having like a surgery or something like that, you have to get implied consent. But
mhm.
that's it. Hmm.
Well, Nell Gigi, don't disappear. Stay right there. I'm going to end this, ladies and gentlemen. Um, oh, okay,
They
he's
don't
had.
have
I'm
extra
going to end this.
large.
Melanie, don't go nowhere. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna end this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging. This was a long one, and I might be doing tomorrow. Wait a minute, Mel. She talking. She's talking some more now.
Oh,
Look,
Melody, I don't have my phone, so I can't see.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
these
But
cute.
they would put that information in her chart, right?
Right. They will put in
Yeah.
her chart that she refused. Yes, she refused treatment. We tried to do a vaginal exam. Patient refused. Patient,
Everything is in
reports to
that
the
chart.
hospital. Yep.
Everything in
They
the
should.
chart.
Yep. Everything will be in the chart.
Everything. So I
So
said,
they're.
thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging. And tomorrow I'll try to possibility will I'm gonna show some more of those body cam footages and everything, and we can watch those. I think it was like two more body cam. No, there's like a few of them. I don't know. Whatever. We just do just focus on those things because it was two. There was two. I have to do a two part because they're kind of long. They interviewed two people at the hospital, and then there was two other videos. Am I correct? With the mother, and I went to the house. I guess that's the one with the rest. It might be that one with the rest. So we'll
Yeah,
check.
show that one again. So yeah, show that one again.
Okay,
Again.
I'll do that one. If I
Continue
can
to
find
show
that one, I'll do that one tomorrow. Okay. So, ladies and
21.
gentlemen, have a blessed night and a safe one. And thank you, Mel. Thank you, Jack. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, date smart, not thirsty. And talk to your children. Love your children. Be there for your children
Mm-hmm.
because you are everything that they have.
Right.
And
No
shame on your
business.
parents that your kids can't talk to you. Shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on
Shame.
you. Because if you look in the Bible, it's somewhere in there, you know, God's going to ask you what you do with the blessings because these kids is not yours. They God's kids. He gave them to you.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to know what you did with them. And if you did a bad job, that's all I got to say. Adios.